Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Claire Markwick, and this is Real Life Business. Hello and welcome to episode number 25 of the Real Life Business podcast, the final episode of season 1. What a ride it has been. What a journey these last 4 months have been. There have been ups and downs, just like anything in business. Don't get me wrong, producing a podcast is hard work. It is not all fun. There has been hours of learning. There has been hours of editing. There has been hours of pain, of growing, of evolving. But it has truly been a really wonderful experience for me. And, I started this show back in April with the intent that if one thing from one episode could help one person overcome an obstacle or something that was holding them back from taking that next step in their business, then I was onto a really good thing. And in this 4 months, it has become so much more than that. The real life business movement has become a movement. It is so much more than a podcast whirling around in my mind. And I can't express enough the gratitude that I've got for my clients, for everyone here listening, and for everyone who's just really jumped on board this real life business movement. Season 1 has seen so many amazing guest interviews, and I have got so many more already lined up for Season 2, and I can't wait to share them with you. There's going to be a few changes to Season 2. There'll be a few more solo episodes from me, and I'm really looking forward to progressing things on. But what I thought would be really cool for this last episode of Season 1 is to look back through the 24 previous episodes that we have done and to really unpack the key themes that are coming through, because there are key themes that are coming through all of these conversations. And whilst everybody's journey is different, everybody's business is different, everybody's experiences are different, the themes and the things that people have had to overcome have been surprisingly similar. So I thought it would be a really valuable wrap-up, nice neat wrap-up of Season 1 to go through the key themes that I've seen through these conversations and I've experienced in my own business as well. So for the last time this season, sit back, relax, and enjoy. I've often wondered if my approach to things is too simplistic. I focus so much with my clients on mindset and how we think about things and how we approach things and our attitude to things. And I've got to be really real with you, particularly coming from an accounting background. There are parts of me that think, yeah, Claire, it's not all about this. This is too simple a way of looking at it. There are more complex things at play than just how we approach things. And it's actually been really refreshing to listen back to all these episodes from the first season of this show and all the conversations with all the different business owners at all different stages of business development in all sorts of different industries. And the key takeaways and the key themes that have come through all of them are sort of backing up, I guess, the work that I do. So there's been some really great learnings, I think, for myself personally through doing this season, in as much as, yes, like I do come from an accounting background. I do understand the importance of understanding our numbers, being on top of our numbers, having plans, having systems, having procedures, but it supports my deep down belief that all of that in itself is not enough. There's another layer. There is so much more that separates a successful business owner to a business owner that is just, on the treadmill, on the Groundhog Day treadmill. And what that really comes down to is mindset, is attitude, is how we approach things. And it's bloody awesome, to be quite honest, that the 7 things that I have taken from this season are all in that vein. So let me share them with you now. First and foremost, and this is probably something that a mentor told me right at the start of my coaching training, and I think it's taken me till now, which is a good 4 years, to really appreciate the meaning behind the words, and that's say yes and then figure out the how. So many of the conversations in season 1 spoke about the fact that there comes a point where we have to say yes without all the information. We have to commit to something without feeling like we know everything, without feeling like we've got all the answers, because quite frankly, we're never going to get to that point. So saying yes to something opens us up to opportunities, and we need to have the faith and the confidence in ourselves, the trust and the belief in ourselves that we can handle whatever comes up along the way. We can learn a new skill, we can figure something out, we can seek support, we can get help, we can overcome the challenges that are going to come. But we can't do that by sitting back and waiting until we've thought through enough potential problems and mitigated them all. Like, we will never ever reach a point where we feel 100% satisfied and happy to move forward unless we appreciate that we've got what we need inside us. We might not even be able to pick it at that point, but when we say yes and when we start taking those steps forward, that's when we really start to grow and we really start to develop. And that leads really nicely into the second point, in as much as we have to appreciate that we do things one step at a time. We live in a world where it's really, really easy to compare ourselves. Me in the coaching space, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my social media is flooded with other coaches at different stages of their business development. And it would be really, really easy for me to beat myself up for how I'm not as good as them, how I'm not as successful as them, how I don't have as many followers as them, how I don't have as many people enrolled in my programs as them. But the fact is, we're all on our own path. We're all on our own journey, to use buzzwords that keep floating around at the moment. We are all on our own journey, and success looks different to every single one of us. And I think it's really, really important to have people, that we're inspired by, to have people that we look up to have people to give us a drive to perhaps model their thinking and to elevate ourselves to that level. I think that's healthy. I think where the trouble starts to come in is when we start to beat ourselves up for our own progress because we're not as good as them yet. Or we might not even put that yet on there. We're not as good as them. And so I think there's kind of two themes rolled into one here. We have to appreciate that success is going to look different to all of us. And we need to be very clear on what success looks like for us. And it doesn't matter that what success looks like for one of our competitors or one of our colleagues or for someone else we know in the same industry. It doesn't matter that their level of success is different. We need to be comfortable with what our success looks like, what our successful business looks like within the scheme of our life and what we've got going on. And then second to that, we've got to appreciate that we do things one step at a time. You remember right back in episode number 1, Jess was talking about the debt that they found themselves in and the money that they needed to find. And she sort of said, I'm not going to find hundreds of thousands of dollars at the click of a finger. Like it was impossible. It wasn't going to happen. That didn't mean that she couldn't do little steps, little things that when added up and when accumulated together helped her reach that goal. And so I think, if you haven't listened to that one or you haven't listened to that one for a while, go right the way back to episode number 1 and take a listen to that just as a reminder that I think she used the analogy, you can trip over a big hole, but you can fill that hole over time with little pebbles. So you can keep throwing pebbles into a hole, and suddenly you can walk over it clearly. We can't click our fingers and expect a monumental achievement to be achieved, but we can take little steps along the way to help get us there. Another thing that feeds into understanding or appreciating what success looks like for us is to remember that we should always be focusing on what it is that we want. You will have heard me, no doubt, say countless times, what we focus on is what we get, or where our focus goes, our energy flows, or words to that effect. And you might remember one of the bite-sized episodes, I shared the story of Kai, our eldest son, when he trapped his hand in the log splitter, and he came to the realization that when we were just chatting and when we were walking back to the house, he wasn't focusing on his hand and the fact that he crushed his finger, and he didn't feel the pain. He's like, oh, yeah, well, now I'm thinking about it again, I can feel it hurts. But, when I wasn't thinking about it, I didn't feel the pain. And whilst it's a seemingly simple example, it to me highlights the importance of what we focus on is what we get. So if we are continually focused on our problems and the things that we're not achieving and the challenges that we've still got to overcome, or jobs on that to-do list that still haven't been done, we're keeping ourselves in that negative mindset. We're keeping ourselves held back. So I am a really, really big believer in focusing on what it is that we want. I was reading something. I can't even remember the name of the guy now, but he talks about our future self. And this is something that's come up in a few different episodes as well. Act as if we're already there. Think about what the future version of you, when you have your business and your life and everything 100% how you want it, or how you think you want it right now. What is that future version of you thinking? What does that future version of you believe? How does that future version of you make decisions? How does that future version of you move forward? And how do they operate? How do they think? What do they believe? Always think in that vein. You think about what that future version of yourself would do. So when you're left with a decision to make, almost elevate yourself, project yourself forward. Don't make that decision from your current state of being. Make that decision from your future state of being. What will the future version of me do in this situation? I think something else that came through a hell of a lot of these conversations is that when we can elevate our thinking, when we can elevate ourselves, there comes a point where there will be people in our network, people around us, they may even be close friends and family, who start to feel a bit threatened by this new version of us, by this more confident version of us, this more assured version of us. And whilst most of them will mean well and will be coming from a place of love, we have to be really careful who we listen to. And I think it was Stephanie in her episode where she talked about the naysayers out there might not always be, internet trolls and people that are just out to make us feel bad. It might actually be those closest to us just scared of the evolution that we're making in ourselves and the person that we're turning into, and almost feeling left behind. And that can be quite threatening. And our natural response, whether we have conscious awareness of it or not, our natural response will be to pull that person back, to bring them back to that level that where we feel comfortable. And as a business owner, we need to be really mindful of that. We need to be really, really careful of who we have in our support network, who we share our hopes, our dreams and aspirations with. And we need to be very conscious of the fact that there are always going to be people who are going to want, for one reason or another, to hold us back. And we have to have enough belief in ourselves, in our mission, in our vision, in our future self to move forward regardless. And that might mean that we stop sharing certain pieces of information with certain people in our close circles. We can't. I see so many things at the moment about removing toxic people from our lives. And that sounds really harsh and that sounds really final. And that can be, we can be thinking, well, how the hell do I do that if that person's my sister or my cousin or my mum or my dad? Like, how do I can't just remove them from my life. And that's absolutely right. Like, we can't. But what we can do is we can choose who we share certain things with. And so if we get frustrated, for example, when we're talking about our business to our best mate from school, and they're always saying, oh yeah, but that's a bit risky, and yeah, but everyone else does it like this, and or whatever it might be, that person isn't saying that to piss us off. That person isn't saying that to stop us being successful. That person is saying that from a place of fear, because they can't project like we can project. And so instead of continually getting pissed off having those kinds of conversations with that person, stop having those kind of conversations. Create a support network around you of like-minded people, of other business owners who are striving for something amazing, of other people who are looking to elevate themselves, and have those conversations with those people, and share other conversations with your best mate from school, so that one, they feel, your relationship will then with them will be so much more satisfying, because you won't be constantly like getting pissed off and beating your head against a brick wall of, why can't they just let me be successful? Why can't they be happy for me? Why do they have to be so negative all the time? It's just their way of trying to keep themselves safe. So I think, what I'm getting at from that story is, one, we need to be really, really careful who we listen to. We need to be very careful about who we share what with. And the other thing, the third point from that came out in practically all of the conversations in one way, shape or form, is that we need to surround ourselves with people who are going to lift us up, who are going to inspire us, who are going to push us, who are going to keep us accountable, who are going to call us out on our bullshit, who are going to support us, because we are not perfect at everything. There are certain, there are certain traits and there are certain preferences that we all have that make us naturally good at one thing over another. And we need to appreciate that there comes a point there we need people around us who can back us up, who can support us. Last year, I was part of a panel, and we interviewed Naomi Simpson from Shark Tank. And she even said, I have an amazing ability to come up with ideas. I can innovate. I can see things. I can come up with projects, but I can't implement them. I can't think about all the intricacies, all the ins and outs and systems and processes and procedures and everything that needs to happen. That's not my thing. That's not where I get my energy. So she has a business partner who is very focused and very skilled at the detail, at getting things done, at setting things up, at creating, at systemizing things. And so that's a partnership there where they're then in synergy. Like he couldn't come up with the ideas like she can, then she couldn't implement them like he could. So individually, they would both be struggling, but together they can create amazing things. So that's what I mean by surrounding yourselves with people who can lift us up and complement and help us plug our gaps, fill our holes, if you like, to mutually benefit everybody so we can all move forward and move upwards together. All right, so that's 5. By my count, that's 5. That's saying yes and working out the how. Focusing on what we want. What we focus on is what we get. Appreciating that it is one step at a time and that our journey is our journey and no one else's journey is the same as ours. It's being careful who we listen to. It's creating a support network around us of the right people. So that's 5 things. The final 2 things that I've noticed came through these conversations is the fact that we need to be constantly and continually improving ourselves, reinventing ourselves, elevating ourselves, evolving ourselves. This came through particularly strongly, oh my gosh, in so many episodes. With Dave Clare, episode number 4, Amanda Caden, episode 5, Joanne Holbrook. It's talking about, it's about accepting that if we stay how we are right now, we're going to reach a ceiling. We're going to reach a point where we can't go any further. So to evolve and grow our business beyond that point, we need to evolve and grow ourselves as people. And this is key for the work that I do. It's people development. It's business development through people development. Essentially, that's at the core of what I love to do and at the core of my message. And it just pleased me so much of how much it came through in these conversations. And I think when we talk about reflection and when we talk about audit almost, in Suze Chadwick's episode, she spoke about constantly reflecting and almost scheduling in an annual reflection time for our businesses. What's working? What do I love doing? What do I get energy from? What don't I like doing? What isn't serving me? Those kind of intangible things, and then we can do that as well with the tangible things. We can look through our Xero or our MyOb or whatever it is. We can look through our expenses. We can look through, okay, what here is serving me? What don't I need anymore? What terms can I renegotiate with this supplier? What do I need to put in place, to get my debtors, to get my bills paid quicker? This constant reflecting and auditing and reviewing is something that came up on so many levels in so many episodes. And so it needed a mention in this. If we just plod along and we never look back, we never reflect, we never self-assess, we're missing so many learnings. And I think there's a really fine balance here. I'm not talking about living in the past and ruminating on things that have happened before in the past, but we have to reflect. So we have to, if we've had a shitty situation, if something's gone bad servicing a client or something's gone bad with a supplier, we have to review that situation. Why did it happen? What could I do differently next time? What could I have in place that's going to help me prevent me from having that problem next time? So I think there's some real key value in constantly asking ourselves questions. And I'm a firm believer that this is something we should almost be doing all the time, but certainly on a quarterly basis. We need to be physically looking at our numbers, looking at our agreements that we have in place, looking at leases, looking at contracts, looking at all that sort of thing, looking at our systems and procedures. But internally in ourselves as business owners, we need to be asking ourselves the questions. What lights us up? What gives us energy? What keeps us going? Am I like, what is my purpose? What am I here for? Am I doing that? Or have I somehow slipped off course and I'm now on this hamster wheel, on this treadmill of sort of mediocre? And if that's the case, how do I get myself back? So I think that's a key a key tangible takeaway that we can all start to implement straight away. Just quarterly planning. Have a day set aside where we just reflect on the quarter that's just been, and we notice, even if it's one thing that we can do differently to elevate ourselves and our business forward into the next quarter. Then remember what we said a few moments ago, each little step over time adds up. Imagine where we'll be in 10 years' time if every quarter we're improving something. Yeah, that's 40 quarters where we're making improvements and we're making tweaks and we're making efficiency gains and we're making cost savings and we're getting our money in quicker. Like the growth and the difference in our business is going to be exponential. The final thing, and this is probably one of the most important things that I certainly believe, and again, I was thrilled that it came up in so many conversations. Having non-negotiable standards that we set for ourselves, having routines, having rituals, having little things that we have in place, really, I cannot stress enough, really sets us up well. And this is I have to say, this is one of the things that I know it, I believe it in myself. But also it's probably one of the things that when that little ego voice in my head starts going, Claire, you're thinking about these things far too simply. You've got absolutely no idea what you're talking about. This is probably one of the first things that, that doubt starts to creep in on. When I get up, so for a start, I have my alarm set every single day of the week. I get up at the same time every single day of the week. I get up and I do some form of exercise. I move my body. Now, I am someone driven very much by variety. So I will not say I'm going to do a half an hour workout every day, because if I set something that rigid, then my internal voice will rebel against it and I won't do it. So the commitment, the kind of compromise commitment that I've made to myself, given that I know how I operate, is that I will get up and I will move my body somehow. So that might be 5 minutes of stretching. That might be a 20-minute yoga session. That might be a 30-minute HIIT cardio workout, or it could be anything in between. But that is the commitment that I set for myself every single day of the working week, because I give myself 2 mornings where I lie in on a Saturday and a Sunday. When I don't do that, so if I've gone to bed really, really late and I'm really tired, or I'm feeling a bit under the weather, or whatever it might be, I'm just feeling a bit blur. When I don't do that, when I don't get up and move, and then I have my cup of tea, and then I get on with lunch boxes and all that palaver, getting ready for the morning. When I don't do that, my energy for the day is completely and utterly different, and I'm sluggish, and I'm I just kind of breeze through, and before you know it, it's lunchtime and it's like, what the bloody hell have I actually done? So it's something that I make myself do, and that's why I set a loose commitment to myself, in as much as I need to move my body, because I appreciate sometimes we need to rest, sometimes we need to recharge, and sometimes a 5-minute stretch and then just a cup of tea scrolling through Instagram, that's what I need. And I will let myself have that, because I realize that I can't push myself to the extreme and expect to still operate 100% efficiently. We've got to recharge. But I think, if I can wrap up all what I've just said over the last few minutes, the important thing is a structure. The important thing is a routine. Now, if you're listening to this and you've got young kids, or you're in a situation where you're like, yeah, but I can't just set my alarm at the same time every day. You don't understand. It's not like that for me, and yada, yada, yada. Whatever your story is, all I will say is really check in with yourself. Is that really the truth, or is that just the BS that you're telling yourself to prevent you from putting some kind of structure in your life? Now, that might sound really, really harsh. But I will go out on a limb, and I'm a mum. I've had 2 kids. Like, yes, they're older now. They sleep through the night. I understand what it's like to have young kids. I understand what it's like to have puppies and animals and all sorts of things that can keep you up at night and stop you waking up at the set time. But seriously, I can't really think of a situation where there is no way you can add nothing to your morning to give you some kind of structure. So even if that is just a cup of tea in bed before you get up, that came up a couple of times through different episodes. That might be all it takes, but that's the thing that is your non-negotiable. So just have a think about that. If you're someone who doesn't have anything that you'd consider a non-negotiable or a routine or a ritual for the morning, have a think about one small thing. There we go again. One small thing that you can introduce. And just start that. Start with that and build on it over time. All right, I am going to wrap it up there. The 7 key themes that I have got out of season 1. Say yes and then work out how. Focus on what we want and then act as if we're already there. Think about what our future self would do. Appreciate that it is one step at a time and that our journey is different to everybody else's journey and that is 100% okay. Be careful who you listen to. Have an amazing support network around you. Reflect regularly. And make some time for routine, structure, and rituals in your day to add some structure to how we operate, particularly those of us who work from home. I would be fascinated to hear what your takeaways were. Have I missed something? Is there something that you've gotten from these episodes that you have implemented or that you've started to do or you've stopped doing and it has taken your business to the next level? Let me know. I would love to hear it. Send me an email, claire@reignitepc.com.au. Shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook. Let me know. I would be super curious to hear what your key takeaways from this season have been. So I am going to be taking a few weeks break while I record some content for the Real Life Business Hub. You can find out all about the Hub and keep up to date with what is going on when season 2 is going to be released by joining the Real Talk mailing list, and I will post the sign up link to that in the show notes for this episode as well, or you can just head to reallifebusiness.com.au and there's a button there that you can sign up for Real Talk, so that's going to keep you in the mix of everything that's going on. Alrighty, I will be back in your ears in an extended period of time. I'm thinking November for season 2, but I will keep you posted. But in the meantime, bye-bye.